Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy right here, this is Tim, and this is The Second Legacy, the only place in the 2A space where you're going to get pristine perfection of sarcasm around our 2A stuff to take you through the 2A day, and that is what we do. And Tim, today, they finally did it. They finally did it, Tim. The Glocks, they're coming after them. The evil semi-automatic Glocks. One could say we got Glock blocked.
Yes, they're Glock blocking us.
You like that?
That's... I think.
Thank you, Dr. Producer.
And once again, there's a T-shirt in there somewhere, but we still haven't done that. We got to get on that.
We're a T-shirt factory. We really are. But yeah, in all seriousness, people, if you want to spread the beauty of The Second Legacy, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. But Tim, what are your thoughts here? You sent this to me. You get full credit. You were the bloodhound on this one. You sniffed it out. They're coming after Glocks.
They are. It seems that there's now been a lawsuit filed against Glock because people are illegally modifying them, and so here again we're blaming the manufacturer for the actions of people after the fact. They're taking a factory item and modifying it after the factory has already sold it, shipped it, whatever. And now they're claiming that Glock is responsible because gangbangers and other criminals are either buying or manufacturing these switches because they can be 3D printed as well. And they're saying that Glock is responsible for this, claiming, I believe, that they're too easily converted to full automatic.
Yes.
I guess these people really don't understand the basic function of semi-automatic firearms anyway.
No, they clearly don't.
And we're not going to get into like doing diagrams here, but just suffice it to say that modifying a semi-automatic into a machine gun doesn't take a rocket scientist to accomplish. Okay, so
no, because it's a gun, and guns are pretty simple devices.
A Glock has like 40 parts in it or something like that. So it's
that.
Yeah, so it's not like these are hyper complex machines, folks. And this is leading the way, I believe, because they're going to try to say that Glocks are too readily convertible, right? The same argument has been, we've heard murmurs of the same argument being leveled against the AR-15. It's too readily convertible. You got these drop-in auto sears people can make, the auto key card thing and all this other stuff, with 3D printing. And so they're trying, I think they're sticking their toe in the water here to see if they can get traction, to see if they can then push this out more broadly and say, well, you know what? All your self-loading firearms are too readily convertible and they're all banned.
That's exactly what is happening right here. Now, there are so many pieces, and we got all of the receipts, people. This is one you're going to need to send out. So we're about to walk you through all of it, from the president of Everytown for Gun Safety's little pounding of their chest to look at what we did, to the actual lawsuit itself. Like, we've got all of it. But understand, Tim is dead on. This is not about Glock. This is about something much broader, being originated from a deep blue bastion to see what can float as a trial balloon or dipping your toe in the water, however you want to say it. But they want semi-automatics because criminal actions make them machine guns. That is exactly what it is. They can't stop the criminals, but now they want to, we might as well just take all the semis because criminals. Like, it's basically like you misuse your toys so you can't have them anymore.
Yeah.
Well, we can't have nice things.
They continue to blame the inanimate object for the actions of criminals. So
right, but it has developed though, Tim. I mean, like, you got to give them a little bit of innovation points, because prior to this, it was the gun companies are responsible because they're making weapons of war, and that was their big shtick. Well, now the weapons companies are responsible because they aren't making weapons of war, because criminals are now converting them to weapons of war, which is violation of NFA, which they told us would work, but it isn't. It really is getting complex.
Yes, it is. Plus, then when you throw in the whole marketing angle, like, well, you're marketing to children. Glock says, this is the new Glock 34 pistol, great self-defense and target shooting firearm. Oh my gosh, they're marketing it to children. It's just
how?
Yeah. So they're trying every angle possible. So now we're onto the machine gun angle. It took them long enough. It did. As long as this has been in the news, I was really surprised it took them this long to do something like this.
Well, you just hit on something, and I'm proud of you, Tim. Like, this is all important stuff before you even get into the meat here. This is just the dressing. You just hit on something important. Do you think it's a coincidence, by the way, that Everytown for Gun Safety has pushed for the liability laws against gun manufacturers in multiple blue states. And then at the same time, the ATF is doing multiple stories on national news around Glock switches.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, Everytown for Gun Safety partners with Chicago, one of their blue bastions. And now we can sue Glocks because they're semi-automatics because they're being converted by criminals. It's all coincidence. None of these things are connected. I don't see it. I don't see it, Tim.
It was just totally happenstance. All these things just happen to align just by pure coincidence. And yes. So it is pretty funny that you know, after, did you see the Grand Thumb mocking of the ammunition tech branch lead or whatever? Struggling to get the Glock apart. He disassembled like 10 of them in the same amount of time.
Like just rips through them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I did see that. Our leadership in action, people. Well, let's provide the last piece of detail before we go into the meat here. Tim, you pulled this up. This is from Glock production. This is from 1982 to present. 20 million Glocks have been produced since 2020. So I think you said it great. All these new ones preventing them from being, that's really going to do a lot. It's going to do great numbers, great things.
Well,
great things.
We really haven't gotten into that part of the story yet, though. So
I'm setting up. No, I'm setting up, though.
Okay. So
we're going to come back to that.
And I want to clarify that number. So I was trying to find solid numbers. And so it says number built from 82 to present, it estimated 20 million. I found other numbers that said there's as many as 65 million Glocks in circulation globally. So 20 million perhaps in the United States, 65 million globally. We don't know, but the number is in the tens of millions, most likely.
It's not small.
Right? So it's not a small number of Glocks that are currently in circulation in the United States. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. That was good. That was good context.
Yes.
I'm going to read a few of the tweets from John Feinblatt announcing his victorious lawsuit. This is the president for Everytown for Gun Safety. Let's get it, and then we'll break this apart. Today, Everytown Law plus the city of Chicago announced a historic lawsuit against Glock Inc. to hold them accountable for the unconscionable decision to continue selling its easily modified pistols, even though it could fix the problem. By refusing to do so, it is exacerbating gun violence in Chicago. Well, that was the opening salvo. He came back again with some more. Federal officials recently contacted Glock to discuss implementing new ways to modify Glock pistols to make it harder for Glock switches to be installed rather than help. Glock has falsely insisted there is nothing they can do. I wonder if that's true, how they got that information. Anyway, continuing. The lawsuit alleges that Glock unreasonably endangers Chicago residents and communities by continuing to sell a firearm that can be easily modified to an illegal machine gun in violation of state and local law. And the complaint also alleges that selling a weapon that can be easily converted into an illegal machine gun and failing to take responsible steps to prevent or mitigate the problem is an unfair business practice, is negligent, and maintains, and contributes to a public nuisance. Oh, John, you were on it on that one.
Yeah. And, you know, and just to give you an idea of how easy it is to convert a semi-automatic to a machine gun, did you know that boot laces are now considered machine guns?
They are. That's
and
right.
why is that? Because back in the 80s, back when VHS tapes were still a thing, you could walk around gun show tables and they were selling VHS tapes showing people how they could tie a boot string around the charging handle of a Mini 14, loop it through the trigger guard, and then tie it off on the rear sling swivel and just pull the bolt back, let it go, and it would just run its magazine out. And so the ATF in response made boot laces illegal. If you have a loose boot lace laying next to your Mini 14, they can charge you potentially with constructive intent. So the reason I bring this up is that's how easy it is to do something to a firearm to make it fire quickly, right? The bump stock things are calling machine guns. They're not. This boot string is not a machine gun, but they want to call it one. And here they're saying, well, the Glock is just too readily convertible. Okay. How about the AR-15, the AK, just every semi-automatic on the market out there? How hard is it truly to convert them? I'm not going to get into the details, but I'll just say it's not that difficult. So going to Glock and saying, we got some ideas for you, Glock, that'll make this gun impossible to be converted to a machine gun. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and call BS. You can't do that, right? It's not going to happen. So that's a false statement. Now, they could make it more difficult, perhaps, but what does that mean? 30 days later, they have a workaround, and what are you going to do? Sue them again? It's like
they have to redesign the entire design itself, and then every time you want to do a lawsuit, they do it again.
I mean, cannot think of a self-loading firearm that cannot be converted to an illegal machine gun if somebody so desires.
But the reason why is functionally. No, functionally, understand, if you guys have never if you've never taken a Glock apart, or you've never repaired an AR or upgraded a part of an AR or never built one, you have to understand, like Tim said, we're not going to go into the details, but there is one piece that stops and interrupts the entire process of that thing going, because it's quite literally a physical machine built on inertia and response. It would be like, if you were to do a completely different analogy, it would be like a sewing machine needle going like this, and then when it goes like this, and just removing the ability for it to stop, and it would just be going, the sewing machine would just do this. It is the exact same it's the same principle of, this thing is going to keep going until you stop applying force, unless they put what in car world would be a governor to reset the entire thing, hence resetting the trigger.
Right.
If
I like
you
how
interrupt
you're
that
navigating
process
around the name of the part. that's
you
good.
like that? You like
That's
that?
Good.
Where
That's
I'm just kind of like, I'm like doing the bunny slope thing where I'm going around the yeah.
Right.
It's really not. It's not science where you have to have all of these different biochem degrees to do. It is literally something that is physical, that is moving back and forth, and you're either interrupting or allowing it. It's that simple.
Right. And you know what? I just want to throw this out there. Let's just throw this out there. I have a simple fix to this entire problem in this lawsuit. Get rid of the NFA.
Oh,
golly.
But it's so effective, though. No, hold on. It's effective, and it's breaking federal. I mean, it makes so much sense, Tim.
But wait a minute.
It does.
I wonder how many of these switches are in existence, because does it meet common use yet?
Don't you do it. Don't you
what
do
was
it.
What was it out east, the common use? What was the number?
I remember now. The case was the Catano case.
Yes.
I can never remember that name, but Catano. and it was stun guns out of Massachusetts, and the number was 200,000.
200,000. So if we can prove there's at least 200,000 of these switches in existence that have been sold on Amazon, where they've been sold for years, or 3D printed, they're in common use, and hey, we can just go ahead and just make them legal. Problem solved. Okay.
Well, but problem solved. Thanks, Tim. Gosh, always the problem solver on Second Legacy. But the interesting thing about that is the common use argument coming from the Heller decision, which is what he's obviously referencing. It highlights something that's so obvious for anyone who spends 10 minutes looking at it. The NFA, the National Firearms Act of 1934, explicitly says you cannot create, well, there's lots of different language, but you can't have a machine gun. Effectively, that's what it says. You can't have a machine gun. And you can't create one, and you can't get a part to upgrade it. You can't repair it. You can't do all this kind of stuff, right? Well, actually, hold on. That might be wrong. I think you can repair it. That's 86.
You're
Sorry.
talking about 86. Yeah. After the ban, 86. Yeah. No, you cannot.
Right.
You cannot repair a receiver or a serialized part.
Receivers, no, but the internal parts and components,
anything
you can.
that is not considered to be the machine gun itself can be repaired. But if you bought a $20,000 auto sear and it breaks, you're just out the money.
It's broke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the entire point. Is this entire premise of getting rid of semi-automatics, something that is easily the most common firearm across the planet, handguns, semi-automatic handguns. You're having such a problem enforcing the NFA and saying that you can't have machine guns, and people are circumventing and not listening, criminals specifically, that your solution is not to adjust the NFA as the issues, not to adjust the criminals that are using them. Your solution is simply just ban all firearms because people aren't following the firearm laws.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yep.
And that's what I have to say about that. But do you want to hear some of the amazing quotes from the lawsuit itself? You ready?
Oh yes. Let's.
Oh, we've got them. We've got them. This is number 3, or excuse me, 5 rather. It's from the article number 3. The lawsuit alleges that Glock unreasonably endangers Chicagoans by manufacturing and selling in the civilian Chicago market semi-automatic pistols that can easily be converted to illegal machine guns with an auto sear, a cheap, small device commonly known as a Glock switch, the release said. The suit is the first to use Illinois' new Firearm Industry Responsibility Act, passed and signed into law in 2023, to hold gun companies accountable for conduct that endangers the public, the mayor's office said. Tim, what are the odds? Like last year, they passed AR bans and mag bans, and they passed the Firearms Industry Responsibility Act to no real avail. Nothing really happened. But then a year later, Everytown for Gun Safety partners with the city of Chicago and then utilizes the law they passed the year before to bring this against semi-automatic Glocks because people aren't listening to national firearm laws and gun control in Chicago. It makes perfect sense.
Doesn't this state law get preempted by federal law that says you can't sue these companies?
It does. It would. You'd think that, because
You'd
that's where it's
think.
going next. Because that's what I mean. We covered it on this channel when they broke down and said, "Hey, we're not going federal anymore because it's not working out. So we're going to focus on state level."
Yeah.
Boom. There you go. It's just, it
Yeah.
hurts.
It does.
It really hurts.
The sentence down here kind of made me chuckle a little bit. Said, hold gun companies accountable for conduct that endangers the public. They're going to hold gun companies accountable for the conduct of others.
Of criminals. Right. It's like,
how dare you,
it's
Chevy,
so-
that your car was used in a bank heist. We're going to punish you for that. How dare you sell a car?
That's exactly right.
You
Dude, that's exactly right. I mean, oh my gosh. That car was used in the commission of a crime and then led to a high-speed chase. So we're going to ban all cars.
Yeah, Oklahoma City, get rid of Ryder trucks. I believe a Ryder truck was used in the first bombing of the trade centers. I mean, Ryder should be held accountable.
I mean,
why can't we not hold these? Yeah, we got to hold these companies accountable for renting trucks to terrorists.
Right. It's not about the responsibility of the populace and the moral obligation of creating a moral and just society. No. We can't have anything. We got to be in a bubble because people be bad. It's just so stupid on the base level. It's idiotic, man. And that's what we had to talk about with that, because Glocks, semi-automatics, they tipped their hand.
They did. So, yeah. Poor little Glock. I don't think they're going to get anywhere with this one. I'm hoping. What's your take on it? You think they will?
I hope to God they don't get anywhere with
I mean,
it.
the only thing that
I hope they get Glock blocked on their Glock block.
Right. I just, since it's being done in state court, they're going to have sympathetic judges to the gun control argument that will disregard actual law and implement what they think should be law in their ruling. That's what concerns me most. But then I guess they'll send it straight over to the Supreme Court.
Well, one thing before you wrap this segment.
Yeah.
I just actually thought about it. One of the things that we talk about on this channel, we were always operating under the idea that they were going to go for ARs because they were the big scary item in the room. Well, they wouldn't touch handguns because handguns were something that were adopted by even the Democrats, like everybody who has a firearm or has need for safety has a handgun, right?
Yep.
What's interesting about that is they're jumping from ARs into handguns now, and it's. I don't know, like the trial balloon aspect that we talked on earlier. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to blow up right in their face. I don't think there's any way that this holds water.
Yeah, I think it may hold water in the state court. They're going to get sympathetic judges and juries. It's just that's just the nature of Illinois, unfortunately. But I think if that does happen and it gets pushed further and it goes into the federal court system, I think we might get a favorable outcome. But we shall see. All right, folks. Comment down below. How do you think this is going to play out in the courts? Do you think Illinois is going to side with Newtown and go after a Glock and punish them for the actions of others? Or do you think the courts will do the right thing? Let us know down below. Thanks for watching Second Legacy, and we'll talk to you guys soon.